I was thinking about it, and I'm gonna do 90s flashback because I watched the movie I told you about before, and it had Bianca Lawson in it, which was a member of Saved by the Bell and New Class, which was in the 90s or maybe 2000, but still 90s. So. Um, Alright, so I was thinking about music. I love the music of the 1990s as well because it has an eclectic mix of you can have pop 1 minute, R&B the next, like ska, like No Doubt the next, and Pearl Jam, and you name it, you probably had it, and a little bit of Eminem back in the days when he wasn't talking about doing abusive stuff. So yeah, I did like Eminem, also known as Marshall Mathers. But yeah. So I was watching Sarah McLachlan videos yesterday, and it reminded me of she started Lilith Fair, which was a concert like a Woodstock, but only women bands and fronted by women and ran. Everything was done by women in this festival. So um, yeah, and just I love like 90s movies and um, because she had uh, Drew Barrymore was growing up at that time, and so she had done a couple of movies, and Sandra Bullock did some movies, and all your basic like America's Sweetheart. America's Sweetheart started in probably the 50s or 60s, but there was also America's Sweetheart in the 90s because America's Sweetheart could be Meg Ryan or Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman before she became famous. She was pretty much an unknown before she did that role, and then her life and career exploded after that. And she's still in the business today, although she's taken kind of a back burner role. But I mean, if it wasn't for that role, then she wouldn't have been known at all. And Richard Gere was the man in that. And so Richard Gere also has a career and had a career for years. What was I thinking about? Oh, Jennifer Esposito, the one I mentioned in the last video. She was married to Bradley Cooper for a bit, and also she was in a 2000s movie, The Crash. Um, Actually, it's a dramatic movie, kind of, but it has funny moments at a point, but it's really dark unless you know what you're watching. And then once you watch it once, you know what's coming, so you can kind of hold yourself up. It also has it has a lot of people in it. All star cast again. Sandra Bullock, Brendan Fraser, Don Cheadle. Uh, let's see. There was also an Indian guy who played like the head of an Indian family, but then there was also like it's multiracial also, multiracial cast, and I'm not gonna spoil the movie for you, but let me just say that it's very dramatic, and some people in roles that you don't usually see them in. So if you want a dramatic thriller, I'd say check it out. Okay. Sandra Bullock, getting back to the 90s. She was hot in the 90s. I mean, she was in Speed 2, Hope Floats, Miss Congeniality 1 and 2. I mean, you name it, she was in it. She was America's Sweetheart for a minute. And she did rom-coms and dramas, and now she has her own production company. I don't know how long she's had it for. She produced Hope Floats, so it's called Fortis Films, Fortis Films. Um, and that's the common thread in a lot of these for famous people, like multi-famous people because they're not just famous in one area, multifaceted. So they're actors, directors, producers, writers, and the more roles you can do, the more money you keep, but also the more relationships you build, therefore building longevity in your career. Um, Gina Rollins was in the movie. Gina Rollins was in Hope Blows as her mother. And another key thing, okay, this is another thing of, uh, what's that movie called? Um, The Notebook with Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams. Um, okay, so Ryan Gosling was huge in the 90s. Um, and also Ryan Phillippe, which was in the Crash. He was also married to Reese Witherspoon for a time, and there's just a lot of connections. It's like 6 degrees of separation, kind of, maybe 7. But, yeah, so a lot of people, I guess the point of this whole thing is that even though it's 90s, a lot of people grew up and did films and roles and things, and they either were famous for a bit and then kind of like disappeared, or they're famous for a long time because they kept getting booked for roles and things, and they grew up on screen, and they were able to turn from child stars to teen stars to adult stars without too much problems. So that's the link between all of this. But I also wanted to highlight like other things in the 90s, music and books. Some great books were written in the 1990s. Um, Bridges of Madison County was written by Robert Waller, and he said it only took him 2 weeks to write the book. So I guess he was inspired. Um, you know, and that film was huge. I mean, it starred Meryl Streep and Robert Redford. Robert Redford started in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and he started the Sundance Film Festival. And now he's a producer, director. I don't know if he's written a lot of things, but I know that he's a director, and he does act occasionally, but he's more on the producer director side now. Um, all right, there's my ode to the 90s flashback. I'll probably come back tomorrow with another edition of 90s flashback because there's always a movie to talk about. Hope you guys enjoy. Um, like, subscribe, comment, uh, join in if you want, share with your friends. Thank you.